Coming up on the Sky News Daily with me, Neil Patterson, how illegal online casinos are enticing children into gambling using a video game site called Roblox. You don't want to miss this.
The world is becoming increasingly complex and volatile. How can we make sense of it all?
I'm Richard Engel.
And I'm Jada-Kai.
And we present Sky News' latest podcast, The World. Each week, we'll cut through the noise to guide you through the week's global events and explain to you why what happens out there matters to you wherever you are.
We're on the ground in some of the world's toughest places. Listen now to The World with Richard Engel and me, Jada-Kai, wherever you get your podcasts.
Panicking about what kids get up to online seems almost a national preoccupation these days. And a Sky News investigation has revealed yet another reason to be mindful of our children's screen time. It involves the hugely popular video game site Roblox. Our research has shown that kids are taking the Roblox in-game currency, the virtual cash you use to buy things on the platform, and instead using it to gamble in illegal online casinos. In the studio with me, digital investigations journalist Ben van der Merwe and our science and technology reporter, Mickey Carroll. Good to see you both. Mickey, first things first, just explain, for those who haven't encountered it before, what exactly is Roblox?
So Roblox is a video game where users can create games within the platform. Mm-hmm. So you log into Roblox and there is a gallery of hundreds and hundreds of different games that have been made by people all over the world. And the games can be wildly ranging in content. So
go on, give us a few examples.
You could go skydiving, you could battle with people, you could do catwalks. I had a lot of fun last week playing on an ice fishing game, which I wasn't very good at, but I had a lot of fun. And all of these games are created by users, and then other people around the world go in and interact with them and play along. And crucially, it's a game that really appeals to children. It's really popular with young children. So we know that around 80 million people play it every day around the world. It's hugely popular in the UK. But in the US, 3/4 of 9 to 12-year-olds play Roblox.
3/4? Wow. I mean, Ben, on the face of it, it sounds like a cracking idea, a creative platform on which young people can generate their own entertainment. I mean, you look at the success of other platforms, like Minecraft, for example. You know, this sort of thing is going to be very, very appealing to kids.
Yeah, and it's a great idea, and it's been hugely successful. The problem with it is, with that success comes scale and moderation issues. And that's something that we know Roblox has been struggling with in general, and in this specific case to do with their online currency, Robux.
Just explain a bit more.
Yeah, so basically if you want to dress up your character, if you want to access certain games, certain experiences, you have to spend money. And on the platform Roblox, that takes the form of this currency. You can buy this with just a normal credit card, debit card. Kids get their parents to buy it.
There must be age restrictions on the purchase of in-game currency, surely.
Yeah, that's meant to be just 18 plus accounts or the parents of kids, basically. Although kids can also get it through sort of gift cards that they can redeem themselves.
And it carries real-world value, this currency as well.
Yeah, so certain accounts on Roblox can exchange this for cash. There's also other third-party sites which are very much not allowed by Roblox terms of service where you can change this into cash.
And Mickey, it was those third-party sites that you've been looking into, and the world of online gambling. Start at the beginning.
So we started looking into this ring of illegal casinos that are operating online. They're completely unregulated. And they're operating alongside Roblox. So they're not within the Roblox platform, but they're advertising to Roblox users.
And how are they doing that?
Through social media sites. So there's influencers out there that are saying things like, this is an easy way to get Robux, or this is a free way to get Robux. So they're targeting Roblox users who we've already said are very young. And then once those users get to the websites, they can log in with their Roblox credentials. So you log in as your Roblox username with your Roblox password, and then you're in. If you tried to log in to an online casino that was regulated in the UK, you would have to verify your age.
Of course.
It's really strictly regulated. There is none of that.
And also, if you're a child and you can't deposit your own money into a casino, you've got this stack of Robux sitting in your account, say that your parents have bought you for Christmas, if you can just move that into a casino, then you're able to gamble and you wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
What are the games that they're offering?
It's all of the traditional ones. So slots, blackjack, roulette, and then there's some very specific kind of online games. So there's some where you can kind of open cases. There's one where you track a rocket and guess when it's going to crash. But the key difference, I think, which felt quite sinister when we were looking at these, is that while you are looking at a roulette wheel or something like that, it's cartoony, it's really bright colours, it really appeals to kids, which is the problem.
So we have kids using their Roblox account to access these sites. Tell me about some of them.
So we spoke to a young man in the US who we're calling Robert, because we're protecting his identity. He's 16 now, but he started gambling on one of the illegal casinos when he was 14. So he saw an advert on social media as a way to get kind of cheap Robux and then started playing. And it became part of his kind of gaming experience. So he'd be on calls with his friends most nights and there would be kind of dozens of them on there, and he said they were all under 17 and they'd play on Roblox for a bit and then they'd switch over to the casinos and then they'd make some money on there and then they'd come back to Roblox. It was very kind of intertwined for them, but it did get sinister. So he said that one of his friends on the call one night lost $200 worth of Robux on a roulette hand.
Wow.
And then was saying that he wanted to kill himself. But they didn't want to speak to adults about it because they'd been gambling illegally.
When it comes to Robert, I mean, do we have any idea of what he has been gambling over the 2 years he's been on the site?
Yeah, I mean, Robert has wagered a huge amount. He's wagered around £150,000 worth. He got in quite deep, didn't he? And he said that his mum found out once and asked him to stop. And he carried on. And then the second time he realised he'd gone too far, he stopped getting the adrenaline from other things apart from gambling. He spoke to his mum again and he stopped now.
I mean, Ben, from your perspective, what is it that you see as so attractive to these kids about this particular type of activity? 150 grand gambled in Robux, admittedly, but that's a huge amount of money.
I mean, gambling is very addictive. And obviously kids don't have the same defense mechanisms that adults have got. They haven't had experience with money. They just don't have the same judgment that a fully grown adult has. And that's why gambling can be so attractive to them. And it's why we have such strict regulations in this country and around the world on underage gambling.
Well, I mean, you say that this is not an entirely unregulated space. We do have the Gambling Commission. I mean, what on earth have they been up to?
Well, the Gambling Commission weren't aware of this until we brought it up to them. They didn't know. To be fair, they took action quite quickly after we brought it up to them. They're good at monitoring sort of larger sites and brick and mortar casinos. But the people that we've been speaking to say that they're just quite behind the curve on this online gambling, and especially these smaller sites that pop up. You try and shut them down, they pop up somewhere else.
So the Gambling Commission became aware of it. They blocked them, and I presume that was the end of the story. We never saw this website again. No?
Well, less than 36 hours later, that website was back up at just a slightly different domain name. But crucially, they hadn't put the website up exactly as they had left it. They had forgotten, basically, to put an extra security measure on, which meant that we were able to access all the data from the website in terms of the games that have been played on it since it was created. And that meant that we were able to have a good, hard look at the amount of money flowing through this website. And
just walk us through what you learned as a result of that.
So we found that there's been around 44 million games played on this site since it started 2 years ago, and around $102 million of bets placed. We think that users have lost more than $11 million in that time, and that's money that is revenue for the casino. In recent months, they've been making around $10,000 a day in revenue just from people throwing their money at the casino and losing. That's a huge amount of money, and you would imagine, therefore, a huge amount of profit. So, Mickey, I mean, are these gambling sites not aware that minors are using them? We've seen evidence that the casinos are aware of how young their users are. So in the chat rooms for these sites, which is on an app called Discord, there were users talking about how young they were. There was people openly declaring that they were 14, and the moderators were interacting with them as well. So we know that they're very aware of how young their user base is. The other kind of point to that is when we asked Robert,
If he thought that the moderators knew how old they were, he laughed and said, of course they do.
And the other thing on those chat rooms on Discord, everyone's anonymous. So you can't actually, they don't use their real names and they don't display their real ages as a matter of course. But they do like to brag. And so we found a lot of screenshots where people would post how much they've bet in order to show off to other users. One of the reasons they'd post these screenshots is because they wanted a special emoji that you get by your name if you've bet a certain amount. So if you've bet over sort of the equivalent of $10,000, you get a whale. And if you've bet over $100,000, you get a platinum whale. And so a lot of users were trying to get these. And then to get the ages, we found that a lot of users were bragging about their height. And users would sort of state their age as part of stating their height in order to be like, oh, I'm like 180 centimeters at only 14. And that's how we were able to show that a lot of sort of really quite like very young people are gambling huge amounts of money on here. And also we should say, I mean, it's not just Roblox. There are other sites related to other games that are doing the same thing.
Okay, let's just take a quick breather there. When we return, we'll be asking who exactly runs these casinos and what, if anything, can be done to take them down.
The world is becoming increasingly complex and volatile. How can we make sense of it all?
I'm Richard Engel.
And I'm Yalda Hakim.
And we present Sky News' latest podcast, The World. Each week, we'll cut through the noise to guide you through the week's global events and explain to you why what happens out there matters to you wherever you are.
We're on the ground in some of the world's toughest places. Listen now to The World with Richard Engel and me, Yalda Hakim, wherever you get your podcasts.
Ben and Mickey are still here. And guys, we've been talking about kids gambling illegally online. So let's focus on the casinos themselves. Mickey, what do we know about who's really behind them?
Not a huge amount. There's an effort to find out who is running these sites, but they're criminal enterprises being run in the criminal underworld and thus are very good at hiding their identities. There's a lawsuit currently going on in the US where parents of children who have gambled on these sites are suing Roblox, and initially were trying to sue the casinos as well, but really struggled to find the owners. And of course, if you can't find the owners, you are just playing whack-a-mole with criminals on the internet.
What's Roblox itself been saying then, Ben? Because, people are using their in-game currency. People are using their in-game logins. They can't wash their hands of responsibility simply by merit of the fact that this is taking place on a site not linked directly to Roblox.
So Roblox says that it's taking action, and it has sort of been trying to detect accounts that are using its platform for gambling, and it has sent takedown notices to try and get the site shut down. What the parents in the US who are suing Roblox are saying is that it's not enough. We saw in the legal filings, basically, the Roblox has said itself, they've been aware of these sites since at least early 2022, in one case since 2019. But they only launched legal action in October of this year. So that's like 2.5 years where there was no legal action. They were just sort of sending takedown requests to the website hosts. And obviously those never went anywhere because the websites stayed up.
So Roblox presumably needs to be rather more proactive than they've been before?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the only way to stop these sites is either for Roblox to have a sort of really good, concrete way of detecting their use of the site, or to find the owners and to properly punish them and deter others.
So domestically, here in the UK, we know there's a lawsuit ongoing in the United States, but here in the UK, what's been the response to your investigation?
Well, we were talking with Sir Ian Duncan-Smith, the former Tory leader who now runs a group of MPs looking at gambling-related harms. And he said that from what we found, it just seems like gambling regulation in the UK is not up to scratch and that they're not able to properly regulate these online harms. They've now written, as of this morning, to the gambling regulator, the Gambling Commission, and to Roblox to ask what more they're going to do about this since our investigation.
So we may well see Roblox officials in the Commons, perhaps being questioned by MPs. Certainly they must have a few questions for them.
I'm sure they will.
We should say that this is by no means the only criticism that has been made of the Roblox organisation, the Roblox website.
Yeah, absolutely. And They are putting more measures in place. So there are restrictions, for example, on under 13s accounts. Parents have much more control. But yeah, there are kind of a lot of criticisms that are being levelled at Roblox at the moment around moderation of chats, around kind of accessibility for young children to be talking to anyone online. And I think there are a lot of parents who are maybe rightly worried about that.
So what can parents do?
There are things that parents can do. I think the first thing to say is we're all online. We all are pretty comfortable using technology, and it can feel intimidating to go into an app that your kid is playing on and change the settings. But you can do that. That's within your power. But obviously, these casinos aren't actually operating on Roblox. They're operating alongside it. And so the kind of steps that parents can take in this scenario, if they're worried, is you can change your settings with your internet provider, potentially. So you could restrict the kind of content that is allowed within your home. But more kind of accessible for most parents is just talking to your child. So we spoke to YGAM, which is a young person's gambling charity. And they said that parents can reiterate a couple of things to their kids that might help. So firstly, gambling on these sites is illegal. First, it's kind of double illegal because the sites are illegal anyway.
Yep.
But if you're underage, you're gambling illegally as well. Secondly, children need to know that if they do go onto these sites and like start finding that they're either becoming addicted or they spend a lot of money, that they can then go and talk to their parents about it and have an open conversation. And that's what YGAM thought would be the kind of, in lieu at the moment of strong regulation, that's the best way to stop this.
Just finally, Robert, the young man you spoke to for this piece, I mean, is he still actively gambling? Do we know if he's doing okay?
So he said he's done with Roblox gambling for good. It just wasn't healthy for him, and he's decided to quit. And he regrets getting his friends involved with it in the first place. But we asked, does he see himself gambling at a legal casino in future? And he did say yes. That is something that he's thought about. And he said he wouldn't have said that before he had started gambling on Roblox. He said the Roblox related casinos gave him a taste for the real thing.
I mean, that's horribly concerning.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Guys, been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
And you can read their full investigation. Just head to skynews.com. And anyone concerned about their gambling or that of a loved one can visit begambleaware.org for free confidential advice and support. The National Gambling Helpline is also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 0808 80 20 133. The Daily's back again tomorrow.
The world is becoming increasingly complex and volatile. How can we make sense of it all?
I'm Richard Engel,
And I'm Yalda Hakim.
and we present Sky News' latest podcast, The World. Each week, we'll cut through the noise to guide you through the week's global events and explain to you why what happens out there matters to you wherever you are.
We're on the ground in some of the world's toughest places. Listen now to The World with Richard Engel and me, Yalda Hakim, wherever you get your podcasts.